which is always for French governments, particularly French presidents, is that they've never really been able to match the power of organised labour combined with the spontaneity that is of the French, and when in revolt, he managed to deal with workers pretty bad, but then the circumstances improved, resolve the problems in Europe, and circumstances, a new movement developed that's political, that the people of France, that the party, the right wing, most of the population supports, and so the movement, really, the trade are not able to do unusual. In a crisis, it's in to move because they represent against a amorphous intermediate group between the working classes and the classes who indicate, like the top of the trees in the wind, where the wind is blowing. They indicate to happen. And so, in this particular case, it's similar social strata or generic appeal has been launched by this movement in France. It may not have that much power behind it, I don't know. But it indicates that the time for Macron is over. He's in a crisis, which reflects the generic crisis not only in France, but in the whole of Europe, which of course is the subject of the last couple of weeks, the crisis over Brexit. Now, I studied the 583-page or whatever amount of pages document that they published so far that seems to be the legal basis for Theresa May's agreement. Nor have I actually studied, unfortunately, the political declaration. But my essential position is I support the removal of the Conservative government. And I support that. I want to see a change in British society that improves the lives of the mass of the people of Britain. Simultaneously, just as the movement in France is developing against Macron, and movements in other countries in Europe are demanding movements of the masses, my position is always, everywhere, the defence and advance of the rights of working people across our country, across Europe, across the world. And I do not believe that there is any government in Europe or Britain or in the United States that is standing up for the rights of the majority of the people. And to an analysis of the class, the social structure of society. That is the question that we really need to address, that is fundamentally not being addressed in the discussion about Brexit at the moment. But I do believe, and that's why I also support the idea that if it comes to it, on the 11th of December, or whatever date it is, that they want to pass this agreement through Parliament, I believe we should oppose it. The Labour Party should demand a general election to transform Britain, and to transform for the sake of Brexit, but for the sake of the people of Britain, to improve the living standards, conditions, welfare and social rights of the people, and the power of the tiny group of people who own and control the wealth of this country. Many other, by the way, Britain is probably the biggest single in terms of its overseas protectorates, where they act as the financial scamming conduits. Britain is the strongest in the world. It has vast amounts of resources in the Cayman Islands. The Panama Papers showed the same. Where billionaires and multimillionaires, large companies, filter away resources, plunder from all around the world in order to maintain their position, their wealth on a global scale. And there is nothing within the British establishment that makes it better than the German establishment, or within the German establishment that makes it better than the British establishment. And therefore the central question remains, how do we unite the interests of the majority of people of Britain, France, Germany, America, China, Africa, Asia, and so on? How do we unify the people? And by the people, I don't mean an amorphous group of any people. I'm not saying the interests of the wealthiest groups in society are the same as the interests of the poorest groups in society. They are not. That should be the starting point for understanding the world. The world they try and make with 2 years in which most of the politicians discussing on television or in Parliament, they constantly bleat to you the most important decision you've made in your life, the most important decision you'll make in your life is whether you're a member or not a member of the European Union. No, that is not the most important decision. The most important thing that affects you is how we live in our country. And how we live in our country is not decided by the members of Parliament in Britain or the members of Parliament in Germany. It's decided by the relationship between those above you and those below you. It's a relationship between landlord and tenant. The relationship between employer and employee. The relationship between the poor and the wealthy. The relationship between those who are in debt and those who have the enormous resources. Many of them, by the way, many of the wealthiest people, so they're called, are also in debt. But their debts are not like your debts, if you're poor that is. Their debts are not like the majority of the population. Their debts are excused. Their debts are covered. And when they bring the world, and that's the reason why we're in the crisis we're in, the reason why the European Union is in crisis, the reason why Brexit happened, the reason why Donald Trump was elected, the reason for the crisis in Greece, the crisis in Spain, the crisis in Portugal, in Ireland, in Iceland. What is the reason for it? It is because the bankers who organise the global financial system controlling the geography, landscape of the planet, they managed to blow resources from nature on derivatives, on what they call, what was it called? I can't remember the bloody name for them. Sorry, some type of speculative a product on the global markets. I think what it's called. I can't. It'll come back to me. That they were organising the world economy for the interests of the billionaires and millionaires to build the world. And when this gigantic bubble that they created, on which this gang were having an orgy from these resources, when that collapsed, the rest of the world was back down. We were told we have to pay for in order to resolve the financial crisis. And at that time, they said, go charged around the world on behalf of British capitalism in order to save the banks. I ask you this, why do you need to save the banks? Save the banks. What is saving the banks? What does it mean? Their buildings? What does it mean? Our money? It's saving. They can to plunge the world's same market. By the way, is one collapsed. Portugal collapsed, and the people advanced, wealthy, industrialized people, pensioners going on the square, of hungry onto the street, shop off. Middle in front of the Parliament in Greece. Now, the problem they have is the demand of the far right by the Conservative Party, Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, of course, forget that genius, the man with a common touch they want to make out, because he has a cigarette, drinks a glass of beer. And so because he does that, and he's white, he thinks he can start trying to promote and provoke in society. One nationality against another. There's a Somali next door. They got a council flat. My son did. What's this? Yes. What? Why? Not enough for the people. If you look around you, it's fair. Lane. We get all of that from. And yet in Park Lane, half empty. Mayfair is empty building the whole city. Obviously homelessness, but the can immediately be people all through the lock on. And that way, open up these buildings and available. I'll take you one sec. London alone, there are 700 orphanages in London to house home million people, and it's sacrifice. Bow down. Reality living. Brexit is about the enormous advances in science and culture, education, knowledge. You took years of and passed from. And yet, knowledge, if we got unlimited knowledge in the mind, what is the accumulated property from 2 million years? Most people in Britain, 60% of the population, have less than 1,000 in savings. 1,000 without. £100 in saving. I think to gain brains, the benefit themselves, instead pale, give away jobs at all. A couple of landlords. Well, it'd be easy if we have the key. We don't have the key. Property sacrosanct and empty 10,000 sleep. Property is sacrosanct. I'm saying change and we must use the existing local government, national government. The sea is empty. This, by the way, already, but they're not informed. They're because the government is stretched, and they are also generally alive. People who say why? Well, they're in a half of the great down. There are still dozens of families who have not been rehoused in the second wealthiest in the country. The day the Grenfell Tower burnt, I identified the building that's been empty for a couple of years, just to in the high street. We could have housed 40 families. Now, still empty now. And down Kensington house. I used to live in the warehouse myself, what they call property. The warehouse is twice the size of a football pitch. Kensal Road, White Knight Laundry. There's still only 5 people in the building. Size larger than a football pitch. So what are they talking about? They are treating the interests of billionaires above the interests of the people. And that is what's to growing rebellion in the minds of the people. That yes, at times it's a confusing character. How could it not? When the world appears to be so confusing. Everything, you know, this park, you see, to me, property is saints. How can it not be theft? The law in Britain defines Hyde Park as the Queen's Park, allowed to be used the People's Park if the Queen is the people's queen, which we're supposed to believe. And yet here we have, not so bad, but nevertheless, how do you get a concession like that? How do you get it? Middle classes who can afford 20, 30, 40 for an hour or £100 in an no because property defending in property. Why are we the private NHS? Because not because we need the NHS. My friend, the NHS may have inefficiencies in it. True. I'm not disputing that possibility. Or even that as a fact. I'll accept that. However, ask yourself this. Look at the railways in Britain. We privatised them. They used to say British Rail is inefficient. I tell you what, the privatised railways have been proven to be far more inefficient than the nationalised railways were. And in many countries in Europe, I was in Germany a couple of days ago. To be fair, you can still say to a general degree that the railways still function efficiently under German in France national infrastructure. When they wanted to replace the escalators in Baker Street, it took them 10 years to replace the escalator. 10 bloody years. So they can't claim they are efficient. Capitalism, you see, has reached a point where some elements of capitalism are efficient and other elements of capitalism are totally and utterly parasitic. Landlord, yes, I can elaborate. Well, in London, for example, the way in which the property market is structured, capitalist property market, is designed in a way utterly, completely inefficient from the standpoint of the people of London. Yes, if a worker in London works in the park here or in McDonald's road here, and they have no possibility on the wages they earn of renting or buying a property anywhere in Zone 1 or Zone 2, that adds 2 hours to their journey every day. That adds an efficiency of, let's say, 4 million times. That's an hours, lost hours per day, just because landlords and rights want to jack up prices as much as they can out of the built, or even hundreds of. Well, I just point. Let me point the question whether or correct empty. Firstly, there is the local council tax. 6 depends on each local. They can problem. Secondly, there are methods by which we can compel. Thirdly, easily squat empty properties. You shouldn't do it. Used over the thing is this: things are legislated. For example, in your voluntary business, are they not? Right? This is a level. Make declaration, statutory form, regulation. So if we have that struck the ownership costs, impose them, just corporate legislation. Because stating, and that's why I say that there are legal parameters for the operation of bit strong. Yeah. So the lady is
to a certain business and like, you know, opening a homeless people business rates. Is
that you asked basis which of course starting from in other words, and corporate transactions governing society. The fundamental thing for what you're made to hear, accept capitalism. Then there is also views that encroach in moral and every time you investigate or discuss or argues for something, this is my family, if they're honest, and then they'll say, but this can be ameliorated or to how it feels if society that people in the society if vote and society can let that means that 6-year-olds just say one sec 6-year-olds can impose on society. That is what happens. That's how a so-called democracy is supposed to function. So I am appealing in a platform with four points. Why? Because interests and the ideas of the wealthiest people, the landowners, the capitalists, and the tenants. There is a conflict of interest, and I side unequivocally on the side of the workers, and because I'm a good person, I believe and have a great spread of society, basis to gather society, I'll amend that, then does your view. However, your view dominates the world we live in. I'm not denying that.
So let me get this straight. What society thinks, what works, what people choose, doesn't really matter. What society
what I said. No, he asked me a philosophical argument as to that. And of course, some by out something. If in your transactional relationships you decide to go and buy a water from a shop, it's because you feel for some reason that that bottle of water is the one you want and that other one is the one you don't want. Everything to some degree that relates. For example, meetings, even though you don't, right? It's right. Underwater, visceral brain. A fish, they will swim in walls, and when they have a sense practice, warm, they will move towards that. Human being, seek out if you wander around London and you're looking around other people. What do you think you're looking for? You're looking for some human interconnection with the other people in society. This is why the alienated state we live in the society we live in today, leads us to feel, there are many people, for example, entourage of people. In the last year, I've been confronted with multiple people who are from severe depression or are facing or are suicidal. This is a very recent phenomenon that I'm experiencing, that in my own entourage, numbers of people are on the edge of either mental breakdown or suicide. That is because, in my opinion, it's because of a social phenomenon affecting mass psychology, affecting how people feel. Across the road here, and you pay £400 a week. I'll put it in monetary terms. And then you find that once you're in the flat, is suffering from got asbestos. Your feelings simply they are integrated together. Relationship. transactional relationships tend to those feelings. The nature of the transactional society, rather than inspiration ideals.
I usually and work like pure.
Okay.
And that is exactly what we do.
There you go. There's no fun. No, is there? Right.
Because I know that people will. Because
but you need to counter me.
sorry?
If you look on the YouTube discussions, people are watching you, they agree or they disagree, he's right, he's wrong, no problem. You have access to discuss in this meeting. I'm not stopping you, and you can stand up and speak as well. Right, so drawn towards a certain type of human communication, non-transactional. After all,
A certain of ideology. This. Now let me. No, absolutely. For the homeless people, you allow as many as possible into your house. It's not reasonable at all because
who said it was? It was.
You're acting on things.
Who's saying that? I'm not.
Because you have
My friend, I didn't do. That's not correct. Look, a child. If you look at modern, if you look at modern technology, the attempts to form a science of psychology, attempts, right? If you look at those attempts, they start from a child. If you look at a baby, you see the baby is a visceral feeling entity. It doesn't have logic. It doesn't have transactional relationship. When it doesn't have milk, it screams, right? When it feels uncomfortable, it screams. That's the foundation for you as a human being, right? The child isn't there. They're not looked after by the mother because the mother is paid to look after them. Human beings have looked after children long before money existed. And so there are roots, anchors, foundations upon which things are built. Whereas what your arguments tend to point towards, not just today, but throughout the arguments you made in my meetings at Speaker's Corner, your arguments are founded on the idea that everything is a transactional relationship and that the feeling elements, the elements of human psychology, the elements of ideology, they are simply, I don't know, icings on the cake built around a transactional relationship. However, I disagree. I do agree, however, that transactional relationships, economics of exchange, the foundation of modern society, and it distorts, amends and adjusts the character of human beings. And I believe it dehumanizes people. And it dehumanizes not only the person who says, I'm not giving that to the homeless person, it also dehumanizes the homeless person themselves. And it dehumanizes all of society. Because we walk around the streets and we see people on the streets who are homeless. We assume, often correctly, that they are drug addicts or that they are drink addicts. And then we assume that because of that, somehow they are undeserving. Right? They are undeserving because they're drunks. But of course, if you're a judge, you know the phrase used to be a phrase everyone would say, drunk as a judge, drunk as a lord. Because the House of Lords, drunk. One of his most famous retorts when a woman turned round to him in the House of Parliament and said, Winston Churchill, you're drunk. And he said, yes, madam, I may be drunk. But tomorrow you'll still be ugly, whereas I'll be sober. That's what he said. That's what he said. The point being that drunkenness is only abhorrent. It's somebody who's homeless. If someone's wealthy and they're drunk, it doesn't matter. If someone's a heroin addict and they're revolting, no one cares. Do you think people care that Russell Brand was a heroin addict? You think people care? You think people...
Because he's functional, that people don't care.
Of course.
If you start drinking and you completely lose yourself in the drink, that's not good. If you start drinking
Yes, but if
and
you're
you function well
if you're
in society, then it should be looked
my
in the
friend,
same
my
eyes.
friend,
No, the difference
my,
is, that's
you
the
function
thing.
well in society
That's the thing, man.
if you're a millionaire.
That's the thing.
Hard, is it?
Dangerous how to show these feelings as truth to people, even though they are only perceptions.
My friend,
your
what
perceptions.
can I transmit?
There is a difference.
Let's just take that apart. What am I transmitting?
There's a difference.
What am I
There is
transmitting here?
You're transmitting.
I'm
what you're
speaking.
transmitting.
I'm speaking. One, my body, my mind.
Things, and you're trying to make them act.
What am I supposed to do?
Sheer feeling.
Get a PowerPoint presentation
No, you're
and a
supposed
mask?
to tell them what
Corner is. What is
to show ideals that work, that will actually
According to
work,
who?
that will produce results.
What do you mean,
According
can
to
produce results?
history.
How do you make
History
things
proves
happen?
that your ideology has never worked.
How does it prove it?
How does history prove that
How does
Marxism
history
has never
prove?
worked?
How does
You
history
want me to
prove
give
it?
the same example?
No, I don't want you to give that. Made more than 4 real. I will what?
Marx himself wrote of Hegel. People we've charged so we do those 4 claims what's the response from modern
I've just been writing an article for the School of Slavonic and East European Studies on socialism and cap in China. Who thinks China is capitalist? Is it
It
Or
has
not?
an economical system, but the media and the nation very totalist.
ideology?
It's not
What's
a
the
pure
ideology? Is the you have to agree, but a Marxist. Well, it would be in this respect. Come back to them. It would be in this government could be the most powerful in the history of the world. As it's marked, clearly you've got either it's high or is a false ideology. People are being tricked by this. Is it just having guns in it? Every study shows in China, happiness and social system higher than the country in the world. Coming to your question, that's not because I believe it's Marxist, because them are opposite. Now coming back to your original question, the first part, economic claim. Sorry. First, the decline of the middle class. Marx discussed for the dynamic world system. A world. Did it create a large proportionate? Has it? Two. In 1840. Right. Now, of Donald Trump wasn't that that a both of them state clearly being decimated. The middle class. Do you they them? Do you define financially by their psych? About one is there. So in other words, we could take a view of the financial position. So the middle is an indication, that's the richest country in the world, is an indication of a very Marxist. On the other side, you could argue to there be the person below. Now that's what of Hitler. In the First World War, leaving someone to blame. Communists and the phenomena, like small business doing in his plan income. Suddenly, when he's almost the Islamic somehow now is a fairy on earth or something like that. But it says Muslims are basically stuck into that ideology. Here, middle class, hard-working, and have lost because bloody Muslims stealing our jobs and children, right? That's where that ideology of Germany, Britain, and the words, the consciousness class of wealth, big capitalists, the workers. Well, because they are in the society, they value the I have no doubt about evidence. This is the rise of the AA. They've spent 45 to 2,000 and mark euros and fighting here fascism, of Nazism, of intolerance, of racial is such view becoming now in Britain for a new world where that was the idea. Countries be closer together. Borders would disappear. The money would be unified. Capital capitalism would create a utopian, pan-European and potentially global system of economy, politics and culture. Instead of this, it reached a certain point, and after the economic crisis of 2008, the whole thing has been turned into reverse. That is the fundamental process. Reflect it. The whole conversation in Britain is Brexit. Brexit, Brexit, right? What is it about?
But you're right, it's lost. And what's lost is a sense of the individual citizen to consumer. What's lost is the idea that value and meaning is more than just an economic transaction. How dare the Marxist economies or the capitalists make claim that they have the solution to that reaching of why
Everybody who claims to be political is stable, is correct. What else? Come on, and you know, Theresa May or Jeremy Corbyn or God knows who, and then they get asked, yeah, believe what you say. And I don't believe a word of it. What do you mean, no track record of Britain? If someone in this audience has a heart attack now, ambulance will come out, paramedics will come out, they'll take him to hospital and they'll try to cure that person of his illness for free. That's Marxist, my friend. That's as close as Marx's slogan at the end. The Communist Manifesto was, society will inscribe on its banner, each according to their abilities, to each according to their needs. That is the National Health Service.
And you know what Aristotle said? Tolerance is the
well,
tolerance and the idea
well,
of your
okay. There's a small problem. I will quote you another quote. It's not quote wars, but I will quote you. I will quote Aristotle back at you. I will quote Aristotle to consider the condition and the circumstances in which he lived, and the reasons why he said what he said. The foundation of democracy, which means at the time when that was the case, Aristotle speaking tool. So he was words of a tool. What to supposed right? Context is important, right? Talk about how on a some people because he was a threat to the rule. The idea that things can be taken out of Christian corner is false. Understand context, not content. And Mark, what I tell you, when the Labour Party is most since the most now what Jeremy Corbyn spirited the people in the party. He beguiled them with strategical focus. He hypnotized them. Stories.
You know, example
Jeremy Corbyn.
Yes. I like the example that you gave. Proves everything I could say that you shouldn't follow a person that is old, and that's what Jeremy Corbyn is doing.
Jeremy Corbyn is
That's what's doing. You are doing socialist. Not the ability to read.
What is the difference? distinction between...
There is the difference. Sense. You mean...
I tell you, you're arguing. Why are we arguing here today? Why are we arguing?
Because we as a but we as a
It's some.
Can discuss
Why do you need to discuss in Hyde Park? Why do you? There's been books written around. All you have to do is compare the books and prove which is right. Must be the truth because that's written.
because nobody actually wants to know. If people want to follow their feelings, because feelings,
You just told me
following their
reason
feelings
is the basis
feels
of all
good.
arguments. It should be.
It should be. It is
How
not.
can it be?
Because it's easier
How
to
should it
exploit